All right, I can see you guys asked and I will deliver. Why does a narcissist move on so quickly? Will it work out with the new supply and monkey branching? So why do they move on so quickly? Now, is the new supply, is it going to last with them? So a narcissist moves on so quickly. Comment below. Did your person move on before even breaking up with you? As a common pattern that we'll see. But a narcissist, they often have relationships that are very superficial. So I want you to kind of relate it to football. Let's say you want to be on this football team and you're loyal. I'm in Michigan, so I'm going to say the Detroit Lions, and you want to support your state, you want to be on the team, so you're loyal to Michigan, to the Detroit Lions, and that's where you want to go. So in your relationship, you want to be loyal to your person. So a narcissist, they're going after supply. So let's say you're a football player who is chasing the money. You don't care what team you're going for. You just want that high dollar salary, and you will take whatever is available and you'll be happy with it. Now, there might be some little choices, maybe certain deal breakers in the cold states or whatever, but the narcissists, they're going after the supply, not the loyalty. So they have a lot larger choice, and they don't like the commitments. They when things start getting deep or getting real, or they have to be held accountable, a lot of times they feel smothered. They don't like dealing with other people's emotions. That's where the loyalty falls apart, and that's why a lot of times they cheat or move on. It's a fresh start. It's not as deep, it's not as accountable or suffocating to them. They just want to live their life. They want to do whatever they want to do. So focusing on what the relationship can provide for them rather than forming these deep emotional connections. So because of this lack of depth, they're going to have a lack of depth with the new supply, and it can go on for years, and it gets to a point where the new supply, is going to feel lonely, or they're just another toxic person. It's either going to be volatile, or they're going to cheat on each other, things like that. So it's the loyalty and wanting a true connection to develop that love. They're not after love, they're after the image of marriage. They're after money, or just playing games, or sex. And because of the lack of depth, they can detach easily, move on quickly. They also don't ruminate or miss. They're not as trauma bonded. Some can become trauma bonded. A lot of times they're not, because we gave them consistency, but because of the breadcrumbing, the intermittent reinforcement that they gave us, we're in two different relationships. We're in a trauma bonded one where we're giving our all, they're taking everything. And because all their needs are basically getting met, they go back to, just wanting to do whatever they want. And if they don't get their way, then they either throw fits or cut people down. It's a way of boosting their self-esteem, and they're like bullies in a sense, where they're cutting you down, and it starts getting uncomfortable, starts damaging your brain, starts getting you in this brain fog, and you start ruminating about the good times. Why can't we get back to what that was? And when we do our reactive abuse, they're not as forgiving. They also make up stories. You can't tell, with the gaslighting, you can't tell what the truth is. And a lot of times it takes years to unfold. It's going to happen with the new supply too. But there was a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, and it shows that individuals with high levels of narcissism have more casual sexual relationships, also a greater number of short-term relationships compared to narcissists. And I'm sure, you can see that, whether it was in the past, but they kind of settled down a little bit. Maybe they settled down because of disease or pregnancy, where they're playing it a little more cautious, but they a lot of times have higher body counts. They can, depending on their self-esteem, on what they feel, because there is the grandiose, there's also the vulnerable, what their options are, so if they have a lot of options, a lot of times, if it's easy for them to cheat at work, or if they might stick with a person for high dollar amount, but they have this need for this narcissistic supply. It's not for love. So they crave this constant validation and admiration. So when a relationship ceases to provide the narcissist, they start seeking new sources and they move on rapidly. They don't try to repair relationships. They just go from one person to another. Depends on who the person is, who this new supply is. But they do that monkey branching. So even if they're with a new supply, a lot of times they have somebody else on the side. And so you start feeling uncomfortable, and it's hard to just sit back and not cause waves as a narcissist would see it. So a real life example, we can think about Kanye West. He has this highly publicized relationship, also has rapid transitions from one partner to another. This can suggest a continual search for validation and admiration. He also goes above and beyond with the love bombing. So this cycle of idealizing their partners, they will, with that cycle, devalue and discard. That's why a lot of times it's on average 7 discards before the full breakup. And once they no longer serve a purpose, they just go on to a different relationship. So statistics, research indicates that they're more likely to exhibit this relationship cycling. That's why you get the Hoover. They have the repeating of breakups, getting back together. And this can often lead to eventual permanent breakups. You're not going to feel comfortable. You're going to be on edge. And it's really hard to provide them with what they want. They want something easygoing, but you're so uncomfortable. You're like, just be honest with me. And they're going to lie. They're going to say, I am being honest, or they're going to blame shift on you. And then you're going to apologize and you're going to try harder. They have a fear of vulnerability, and we have to understand that. Narcissists, they do not like the deep emotional connections. They perceive those as weaknesses. That's why a lot of times when you cry, they see it as a weakness and they don't like it. They feel that they can't cry unless they're crocodile tears, but moving on quickly helps them avoid facing their own emotions and vulnerabilities. So in the memoir, Inside Out, Demi Moore discusses her relationship with Ashton Kutcher, and he displays some narcissistic tendencies. Moore describes how quickly he moved on after their breakup, highlighting his inability to engage in deep emotional processing. They don't go through the healing stage. They're going to show up to the new supply exactly how you left them. And they have the superficial self-esteem. A lot of times they seem very confident. And, I was watching a video about, a lot of people think depression is like crying and sulking, but then like, this is what depression really looks like, where people are happy and it's a front, it's a mask. So their self-esteem is so fragile, heavily reliant on external validation. So since they're not whole on their inside, whatever happens on the outside, which they have no control over, they don't know how other people are going to react, or say that they try to manipulate the situation so it goes in their favor. New relationships give them that immediate boost, making it easier for them to move on quickly. And a lot of times they are not alone. They need somebody to make them feel whole. So in the Journal of Research and Personality, it shows that narcissistic individuals, their self-esteem fluctuates more and is more dependent on these external validations compared to people who don't have narcissistic struggles. We all have narcissistic traits, but I'm talking high. So what's the likelihood of their relationship ending? Since they had that rapid transition, it often leads to instability and eventual breakups. There are several factors. They start repeating those patterns, and it's the same dysfunctional patterns in each relationship and repeated breakups. So going back to the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin, these traits are linked to, a higher likelihood of relationship dissolution. The new supply is no different than you. They're just somebody the narcissist idealized, somebody they're gonna devalue and discard and go through the same cycle. And, Elizabeth Taylor, she was known for many marriages and also divorces, exhibited patterns consistent with narcissistic personality traits. And her quick transitions between these relationships often had the same similar patterns of conflict and separation. That's why it's really important to heal. Don't just fill the void with somebody else. You have to fill it from within. And they just don't have that genuine connection. It's superficial and it leads to the breakdown because they're not built on solid emotional foundations. It's like a fly-by-night relationship. And the research shows that relationships that involve narcissists, they have that lack of depth. They might be fun and they might be doing things. That's why a lot of times with the new supply, they're giving them exactly what you had asked for. And that can hurt. It's like, I've asked for so many years. Now you're doing it with this new person. They take what you told them would be important or fun, and they don't create their own ideas. They know it could be something important, so they do it. But unfortunately, they didn't do it with you. And it can be quite frustrating and hurtful. So, you talk about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. They had this tumultuous relationship. They had that rapid escalation, also the devaluation, and it ended in that highly publicized and contentious divorce. Just shows the instability of the relationships in these narcissistic dynamics. Now, Amber Heard had borderline and histrionic, but when you put in the narcissistic traits, the serve me or I need. So partners of a narcissist, they often realize over time the manipulative and self-centered nature of the narcissist, and it starts to lead to dissatisfaction and breakup. A lot of times the narcissist ruins holidays, or they break plans, or they forget. And they also, with the gaslighting. So they have studies that show that these partners of narcissists experience higher levels of psychological distress, and that can lead to the breakup. So we talk about Sandra Bullock, her relationship with Jesse James. That was a quick end after he was cheating when it came to light. So James displayed narcissistic behaviors. And when Sandra Bullock had a realization of his manipulative nature, she decided, it led to their breakup. Narcissists, they often become bored with their partners once this initial excitement wears off. So in the beginning, you're just kind of floating on cloud nine, and then all of a sudden real life sets in, and they don't want that. They don't want that adult relationship. And it prompts them to seek new relationships. They're just chasing whatever supply it is, and can vary. So, don't compare yourself to the new supply. If, somebody's just going to use you, whether it's for your body or your money or a place to stay, that's not the person that you want. So they had that study, and they found that narcissists often have higher levels of relationship boredom. They seek novelty more frequent than people that don't suffer from NPD or narcissistic traits. So we talk about Kim Kardashian highlights the tendency of narcissists to move on quickly once they lose interest. There's also incompatibility. They need the control and dominance, often leads to power struggles and conflicts, starts to destabilize the relationship. And in the Journal of Personality Disorders, it says that narcissistic traits are strongly associated with these interpersonal conflicts, and these are significant predictors of relationship breakdown. So as you see, is there new supply getting this fantastic new relationship? It's so unstable. Sometimes it takes time for that foundation to crumble. And how much is a new supply willing to put into it to try to hold up this thing that's eventually going to collapse? Eventually, that person is going to become exhausted. So Tom Cruise had a relationship with Nicole Kidman, also Katie Holmes. And these ended because of reports of controlling behavior. And this shows how these dynamics can lead to the destruction of relationships. So narcissists have a tendency moving on quickly. And it's driven by a need for this superficial validation. They have a fear of vulnerability, so they're never going to have a true relationship. They have a cycle of this idealization and devaluation. So it's never going to feel comfortable. That new supply may become trauma bonded because of intermittent reinforcement, breadcrumbing, trying to bring things back to how they were. But a lot of narcissists also hold grudges. So if you say the wrong thing, you're going to get the silent treatment or ghosted or punished in some way. And this instability shows that these statistics, real life examples, shows that the, narcissists, it's almost like they face problems in having a true relationship. So once we understand the dynamics, we can have valuable insights into the behavior of the narcissist and the likely outcome. So it's not a full predictor, but it's a pattern. And studying patterns, humans are used to doing what's comfortable. We're creatures of habit. And, it's so destructive that, when you start wondering, why didn't they pick me? They didn't pick you because you started to become strong. You started to see through the narcissist's games, or you just got so frustrated that it became intolerable. And that's because of the brain swelling. It was damaging your brain. You had brain fog, so you couldn't quite think through things. You couldn't process it. You used cognitive dissonance to kind of choose the lesser of two evils, to give the benefit of the doubt. You also might feel some sort of way about how did I overlook this, and not wanting to believe that, you were with somebody who was just taking, and you lose yourself in the process of these relationships. So monkey branching happens all the time. It is a red flag. The narcissist loves to play the victim, and it gets tricky because now that we've been victimized, that we are like, well, were they the victim? So once you go through this, to bring into a new relationship, we have to become survivors. Is your narcissist going to become a survivor? They went through some traumatic experience, or they were so coddled and built up that they had this false image of who they are, that it's like a spoiled brat, to where they feel entitled to things, that you have to bring it to the right level to have a healthy relationship. They're just playing somebody else. It's a cycle that will repeat. And, there are certain relationships that can last a long time. Is the narcissist willing to stick it out because, it's easier? They don't have to deal with shame or admitting that they had a failed relationship. Others are easily, some bright and shiny new object, a new supply again, that it's a lonely life if you're with a narcissist, and the new supply will be lonely, will be devalued, will be given breadcrumbs, and will go through some brain damage. And that's when the reactive abuse starts happening, or silent treatments, or becoming more narcissistic. It starts turning into a toxic relationship, and the intensity will get stronger. How quickly that happens, depends on the external stressors, also what people are dealing with internally. So raise your self-esteem. I can help you with that, but that's where you're going to see how boundaries are important, how once you see these red flags, it's also important too, though, that we do give, once we're ready, a new person the benefit of a doubt, that we don't project our trauma onto the new person. So if your ex cheated, doesn't mean your new person is, that we have to be fair and You know, it takes time. And ruminating about them is part of the trauma that we went through. It's part of the cycle that we have to go through to heal. So if that was helpful, please like, subscribe, share if it'll help somebody. One-on-ones are available, and I love topic requests. I'll make some videos for you guys free of charge, and I'll see you in the next video.